are so excited to talk about sustainable travel today and the partnership between Hostfully and Booking.com and how we are helping to pursue sustainable travel and just how important it is to the world. So I'm going to just jump into a few slides here to get us started and introduce everybody, and then we will have our other speakers take over. First off, if you don't know Hostfully, this is our time for a little bit of a commercial. We are a property management software company. We provide amazing property management software for property managers all around the world. We have a property management platform, which does channel distributions. We help you get your listings onto Airbnb, Booking.com, and Vrbo. We have a beautiful bookings pipeline. We automate messages, provide payment processing, provide reports, analytics, and a lot more. And that is an award-winning platform that is facilitating lots and lots of bookings every day. And then we also have our digital Guidebooks platform, which is a way for property managers to enhance the guest experience. And what it is, it's like a mini mobile website for your property that's specifically suited for after the guest checks in, helps you cut down on communications and provide world-class service to your guests. So that you don't have to handle all those customer support calls and questions when they can't work the toaster oven or figure out how to open the back door. And what we've seen with our Guidebooks customers is that property managers can collect more 5-star reviews and just provide that seamless experience that they want for their customers. So if you're interested in learning more, please visit hostfully.com and check it out. But in addition to providing a great guest experience, there's a lot more we can talk about on guest experience and sustainability. And one of the things we're going to be talking about today is why guests want to choose vacation rentals that care about sustainability. Why is this important? And I'm so grateful and honored to be here with Booking.com and Nick Halverson. Nick Halverson is I'm going to pull up your bio real quick. Hang on. Nick Halverson is with Osar Property Management in Costa Rica, and he is one of our favorite customers. I'm going to introduce Nick here, and then I'm going to have Kathryn and Felipe. You guys can introduce yourselves. Nick is at Osar Property Management. He started in the corporate world, actually managing marketing and strategy, and launched operations in New Zealand and Australia. Did a stint as an analyst with an investment bank and M&A and mergers and acquisitions, and was also director of marketing for a company working with Walmart and Kellogg's and BP Castro. And then he took a big swerve in his career. A random phone call from an old friend took him down to Costa Rica 17 years ago, where they ended up purchasing over 2,000 acres of land, developing the land, and eventually finding themselves managing all the properties on the land. He says, had he known he would own a property management company, he would have instead studied hospitality management at Cornell instead of economics and management. But I do think there's a lot of overlap there too. So Nick started renting his house out in 2010, and by his own admission, made just about every mistake a rookie could make and treated it as a hobby. However, approximately 4 years ago, he started Osar Property Management and began to run it like a real business. He hired Abigail Vargas, a local in Costa Rica, to handle all of the day-to-day operations. And in the past 18 months, Osar Property Management has grown from 10 homes to over 40 homes. And these are beautiful homes, you guys. So just like, if you want to Google Osa, it's like spectacular homes in Costa Rica. Currently, the company has over 25 employees, 2 offices, and they are looking to hire 2 more property managers and a digital marketing specialist. And when asked about the future of Osa, he said, "We are just beginning to get started and have really enjoyed getting to know the people and support this industry provides, and are extremely optimistic about the future." And Nick has an MBA from Kelley School of Business at Indiana University. Sorry, that was like a bad Freudian slip there.
That's okay.
With a focus on marketing. Kellogg is a good school too. But anyway, Nick, we're so happy to have you here, and we are excited to have your perspective as a property manager in hearing about all the different initiatives that we have going on between Hostfully and Booking.com. I also forgot to introduce myself quickly. My name is Margot, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Hostfully. I'm based here in San Francisco. I'm really passionate about sustainability and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's one of the big things at Hostfully that we always focus on, actually, sustainability. But we're not really here to talk about Hostfully. We're here to talk about what property managers can do for sustainability for their own businesses. So thank you, Nick, for coming and bringing that personal perspective.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Kathryn, it looks like we're having some technical problems, so I'm going to have you kick things off next. And I think you can run with it, and maybe when Felipe joins back again, we can intro him then.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll introduce myself to start, and then Felipe can talk when he rejoins us. So yeah, my name is Kathryn Cervantes. I am a connectivity partner business manager with Booking.com. I've been with Booking about 6 years, working with Hostfully for the last year or two, almost even two. And I'm super excited. This is our first time did a webinar together, and it's on a great topic, sustainability, definitely a passion close to my heart as well, and one that Booking has done a lot of great efforts towards, and it's great to see that kind of alignment in the industry because I think it's super important for our world of travel. So excited to be here talking about that today. And then Felipe is our subject matter expert on sustainability as well for the North America region. So again, when he rejoins, he can introduce himself a bit more there too. I think in the meantime, I can tell you a little bit more about the Booking and Hostfully connection. So Hostfully is our top tier, the premier connectivity partner, and they've been doing a lot of really, really great efforts working on making this connection seamless. A lot of real-time updates, a lot of work going into and making sure the best content's coming through. So again, like really, really proud of everything that we've worked on together with Hostfully and some of the updates they've made. I know I'm excited to have Nick here too. We recently got those beautiful properties in Costa Rica on the site last year, so excited to see that progress.
Yep.
Yeah, so again, a lot of like really great things already in the works. I think automated onboarding is one to highlight. So just another plug too, if you are a property manager not yet listed in on Booking with Hostfully, it's pretty easy to do so. Hostfully has the ability to build and create those properties entirely without even without having to go to booking.com separately. So really great connection there, and I encourage anybody to check it out if you haven't yet. That's my shameless plug for working with Booking. Some benefits of it too. Booking's been growing a ton in the vacation rental area. We've been doing this globally. Some of the strengths are working with different languages as well as operating in over 200 countries. So again, like making that global experience as seamless as possible for our mutual guests. That's the goal. There's also ways to do customizations specific to vacation rentals, like host profile, just showing hey, click your keys, different rules, anything that really customizes it however we can is a big goal and benefit, I'd say, of Booking.com. So with that, I'll definitely want to zoom out a little bit further on our goals and our mission. So Booking's overarching mission is to making it easier for everyone to experience the world, and that truly means everyone. So there's a lot going on. Today we're highlighting sustainability. Some other areas that are really important to Booking, and there's a lot of efforts being made, are on accessibility as well as on traveling proud and initiatives with the gay community. So there's a lot of being done to really make sure that information is being highlighted as to what properties are doing, making sure that's visible on the front end. There's filters for guests are available. There is a Travel Proud badge that is part of a program Booking offers where we teamed up with Hospitable Me. I'll make sure I get that right. So it's a free Proud Hospitality training, and once the properties complete that, you can get a badge to highlight there and make sure that those guests are welcome as well. For accessibility, we're really working to include any kind of features, making sure like the bathrooms, settings, ramps, everything that's available for those guests to be able to truly access the units, and make sure that's clear and able to be found very like front of mind, front end on Booking.com. The last thing I'll say is, again, today we're focusing on sustainability, and that really feeds into this overall mission because we want to make sure there's a world to continue exploring together. I think that everybody knows the power of travel and bridging this kind of global community we have, and it's very important to keep that maintained. Right? So that's why we're all here today, and something that is of huge importance to us.
Hey, Kathryn, I just want to pause. I'm not sure that people can actually see the slides. Yes, I don't know the answer to this.
See.
Bob Garner said, should we be able to see any slides? Also, I just wanted to say hi and welcome to Bob, who's a huge champion for sustainability across. Okay, so now Bob says he can. He had to restart, and Jeff also says they cannot see slides. So I don't really know what to do, but you guys can see the slides, right? So I'm going to assume that now it's okay. Anybody? Yeah, thank you for jumping in.
Yeah, I do see the slides. I'm not sure how else to
to check this.
I know I did personally have to refresh my screen
it.
to hear everybody. So maybe that's a good refresh.
Oh, thanks, Donna. Thanks for letting us know. Yeah, okay. I think the slides are up for most people. If they're not, just go ahead and refresh the page and you probably should see them. Sorry to jump in there. It's a bummer Felipe can't come, but I think his story is so interesting. He's kind of like the consummate traveler, that he's lived in all these different places, and he's living in Hawaii right now, right?
Yes.
And one of the things that I think is really interesting is actually Hostfully we did an accelerator in Hawaii and also Nick in Costa Rica. These island communities are oftentimes like at the forefront of thinking about sustainability initiatives and top of mind. So I think that it's interesting that we have a bunch of people here who basically have lived on islands. I know how important the environment is there. So I hope you can join back again. Anyway, okay, it looks like the slides are working for everybody now. So let's move on to the next section, and we can kind of slow down and hear from Nick and what you're doing, Nick. Is that what you want to do, Kathryn, next?
Yeah, that sounds great, Nick. Would love to hear more about your story already. That great bio got us enticed. So yeah, would love to hear more about your journey, sustainability as well.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thanks, Kathryn and Margot. Let me know if you can hear everything all right. I had some quality issue with the microphone. Are we okay here?
Yep.
Good. Okay, so I'm Osar Property Management's based in Costa Rica. So Costa Rica is located between Nicaragua and Panama in Central America. So when our guests come to Costa Rica, the Costa Rica government has done a wonderful job promoting wildlife and the jungles, and guests expect sustainability. So 25% of all the real estate, or all the acres in Costa Rica, are actually in national parks or in private preserves. So, sustainability is the name of the game. So for us, but with that said, there's still some disconnect. We're in a very rural area. Our 40 homes or 41 properties are really rural areas. So municipalities during COVID actually removed some of the recycling centers and things like that for COVID reasons. Some of us and some other developers actually are the ones trying to push those initiatives back into play. Because our guests expect that. We get that all the time. Where I've separated out the garbage. Where do I take this? And we just say leave it in the room. But that's all we can do. But with that, we've also have quite a few other kind of big things that we're proud of. So one of the initiatives we've done is we're the exclusive distributor for the southern part of Costa Rica. It's called EcoSense, and that is a system that controls the air conditioners. So, the first thing you get in when you're in the tropics is guests like to come in and they like to turn on the air conditioner and they like to open all the doors and then they'll leave for all day. We've pretty much, we can't mandate it because it's a pretty expensive system, but it will also cut down on electricity bills by about 80%. We saw it did my personal house. My personal house went from about $800 a month in electricity to about $150. Because we realized that guests were leaving the air conditioners running. So there's the environmental impact of that as well. As we would go through air conditioners every 18 months. Now we're pushing 3 years, 4 years. So you think about just the manufacturing of an air conditioner, not a really pretty thing we want to think about. So if we can extend the lives of those air conditioners, that makes a big difference. I'll say, and I'll plug Hostfully here. And again, I've been with Hostfully a long time but the guidebooks, because what will happen is if a door is open within the bedroom, the air conditioners will shut off. So we've addressed a lot of those issues in those digital guidebooks. The other thing that we've done and we've been real aggressive with is on the cleaning products. So this was, we purchased quite a bit of cleaning supplies, and we've been approached by larger companies to help supply us. And as property managers, you get larger, how that goes, right? You suddenly start to have a little more purchasing power. So we were approached by, and we tried out a bunch of different products, and we were approached by a company that does all biodegradable products. And we tried them for about 2 months. We were really pleased with them. They were pleased with us to the point that they came down, one of their sales reps came and gave a 6-hour training session to all of our cleaning staff. So I gave our cleaning staff and our property management, a paid day to come in, learn about how to handle these products. They're biodegradable. They're highly concentrated, so we have to mix them, and there's a little bit of mixing and chemistry related to that. But we're really proud of that. And this company that we are working with in Costa Rica they're looking at the supply chain as well in terms of they use solar power for their factories, their way they source products. So it's really taking that whole sustainability up and down the supply chain. So we're increasingly focused on that and looking for these solutions. And the more we look, there are partners out there that are looking, to work with companies like us and property management companies. So those are kind of the two big things. Those air conditioners and cleaning products. Those are big things for us. In terms of like little things that I think all property managers can do and that we started to do was, instead of giving out soaps, individual soaps and conditioners and the shampoos, we've gone to the hotel model of putting in mounted into the shower. So we literally buy the soap by the gallon, one container, refill as needed, versus that same amount would go through 50 little shampoos, 50 little conditioners, 50 little plastic bottles. So that's something we focused on. We've also focused on making sure that we have the digital guidebooks that's cut down on paper and we've also worked on installing, and this is part of a safety thing, but we've also installed like emergency lighting, which sounds silly, but you think of all the batteries and things that you're buying throughout the year for flashlights and emergency when the power goes out, which is quite common in Costa Rica. So we're always looking for things like that. And this made, we also are increasingly, the electric vehicles are really hard where we are. Cars are expensive in Costa Rica. So we're trying to push as much transportation into the motorcycles. Because again, we don't need to be driving an 8-cylinder vehicle up into the mountains when we can take a motorcycle, brand new motorcycles that have the better engines and cleaner engines. So again, we were really focused on that. Our clients are expecting us to be that, and we're getting more and more interest in that. So this was really relevant.
Those are such great examples, Nick, and I love how it's kind of like creative problem solving around like every part of business, like it's like, how can we make this a little bit better? One thing I heard you say just now that was interesting was like the staff like got to train on the new cleaning products. Do you think that the staff cares about the eco part of it? Do you think that helps you with do you think that matters to them?
Absolutely. Yes. Our staff I'm really, really proud of our employee base and our staff. They are, we purposely on the front end, when we hire people, we are trying to fill and hire problem solvers. So we're really an open, we're pretty flat if you were to think about it. If you have an idea, I don't care where you are, if you're a cleaner or admin, property manager, myself, we've got an idea, we want to know about it. And most of our best ideas are coming from our employees. Even that in-person training, that was an idea they had of, is there something, do you mind if we do this? I said, absolutely not. Anything we need to do. So I think it's important to hire the right people that have the same vision and the same, kind of company soul, if you will, when you're hiring.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, one thing I've noticed is that I think that when you're approaching sustainability as a topic, sometimes it can feel like you're alone and you're going to just like do this thing by yourself. But what I've heard over and over again for property managers like you, like Helena Sedaris in Park City, like is that by kind of planting the seed for innovation around sustainability, it creates like its own little ecosystem around it. So like the suppliers are involved and the employees are involved and the guests are involved, and like it has this sort of positive feedback loop thing that happens that is sort of unintended but positive consequences of any initiative. So I hope that other property managers can take that as inspiration for their own businesses. That actually is not cost, it's actually a benefit. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's important as property managers, and as you know, I'm pretty close with David, who also works help as co-CEO or whatever at Hostfully. A lot of feedback of this is what we're doing. These are ideas we have. Trying to keep our partners like Booking.com involved as well. Just updating them on our growth, updating them on our challenges. I think it's really important because you guys are the ones touching all these other companies around the world. So. You're a wealth of information, so I think it's important to let you know what we're doing, and it is that chain and that circle of information.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean those are amazing initiatives, Nick. I think it's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. What we found at Booking, and I think from what I see personally too, is just that it can be some of the feedback we've gotten is that it can be quite overwhelming as to where to start from different property managers. Like, it sounds like you're pretty advanced and very conscious as to how to be eco-friendly, and you said that's the expectation in Costa Rica, right? But I think it just varies so much globally. So really trying to like meet customers where they're at and be able to help everybody take small steps. And then I think once you start paying attention or getting that feedback from, be it from the team, employees, or guests, it really, again, I think it just snowballs. So I think that's, super, very relevant to see. Also, just a number of different companies working on it and popping up more and more is inspiring. I'm curious, Nick, did you get some immediate feedback from guests as well, or did they take notice of like the air conditioning works, how that's been received?
Well, we don't, we don't try to say, look at us, we're great, this is what we're doing. Interestingly, maybe paradoxically, we get, some clients are frustrated, right? They get frustrated that their air conditioner shuts off because they're hot and sweaty in the tropical rainforest, right? And so we have to try to balance that of, well, you booked a house next door to the jungle. What brings the monkeys and the sloths and the toucans is heat and humidity. So we've tried to educate them beforehand and in the guidebook to say, this is for the future. This is for your grandkids' ability to come see these same jungles. And even sometimes we've gotten some pushback even on the not having the individuals. At the same point, that's been a really interesting thing. We've gotten feedback that guests have made note to say, oh, we appreciate you not having the individuality thing. So I think clients are starting to notice that. It helps too that the big hotel chains are doing the same thing. So we can kind of always use that as backup ammunition and say, well, we understand that, but if you go to whatever, a Hyatt, Marriott, Hilton, guess what? They're doing the same thing for partly the same reason. Obviously, there's also, from a property management standpoint, there is a cost advantage to that as well. And I think that's another great thing to think about is from a sustainability standpoint, it does make financial sense to do so for a bunch of different reasons. So, and even when they don't make sense, it's still important for us to do that. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate all the feedback you guys get too.
Yeah, we're trying, and we're definitely trying to give more and more too. And I see that the questions from Bob, Booking definitely has a lot of room to grow on this. We're definitely very aware that there's more we can be doing to help standardize, or to help highlight what our partners are doing, what properties such as yourself, property managers such as yourself are doing, as well as give those suggestions back. Take what we've learned from, and also like be responsible for raising the bar and setting those expectations. If these are things you can do, here's how to do them. Providing resources, that's for sure all in our overall plans. I think for now it's been, again, pretty baseline, getting into highlighting what's being done so far. Pretty standard, but again, you make a great point. It is good to see, and that's a good, again, bar to see raising is like the things like single-use plastic being whittled down at the different hotels, be it a chain or be it a unique home in Costa Rica. Like the more that happens as collectively, the stronger our industry is going to get for this.
Well, and that also involves, the important thing from a property management standpoint. When we were small, I don't know, it's tough to focus on that when you're trying to survive in essence. At the same point, every initiative we do with this, I mean, it's, again, for me, it kind of sounds silly, but we've had to spend a lot of effort with homeowners to explain to them the advantage of going to, the larger refillables, right? We still have some homeowners that say, don't you dare touch my tile in my bathroom, which I do understand that. But it's a lot more work. It is a lot more work as we start to implement these things and these new programs, because homeowners, it's their baby, right? So we need to make sure that when we present this, we're presenting it in that sustainable way. That's the angle we can get into there to let them know that this is the right thing. This is the right thing for you guys. And yeah, do we have to put a couple anchor screws maybe into your shower? Perhaps, but your guests are going to be happy for that. Trust us.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Sure. I think I see Felipe trying to join back and forth now. I'm not sure if Felipe, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Really sorry.
I'm
back.
not able to hear him, but maybe I think I need to refresh again.
I don't know what happened here. Got some issues with my Wi-Fi, but I'm back, thankfully, and I'm lost some of the introductions here. But a quick one about me. I've been with Booking for 10 years. I've been jumping around countries. Started in São Paulo. I moved to Peru, lately in the West, New Orleans, and most recently in Hawaii. And I think the commonality between all these places I have been has always been the care that we have been planning and working as a roadmap with sustainability. And I'm very happy to see that today we also landed our action plan for 2030 and 2040 to become a carbon neutral company by 2040. And we just heard that from our CEO today, and also our Booking Holdings report on sustainability. So we can definitely share with you and also through Margot later. But it's great to see the efforts that we're doing, not just externally, or it's just not just marketing, but we just see the importance of that in supporting our partners and guests in order to fulfill that need globally. I myself passionate about the Amazon. I've been going to the Amazon since young ages, and I've had friends that have farms there, and they have seen the increase of global warming, the increase of floatings in different areas. So it's happening across the globe in different impacts in everyone. But I think our industry as a whole, we need to work together in order to put things down and continue to have that as a mindset. This is not going anywhere. It's here. It's a reality. And together, what we're doing, it's definitely putting something for everyone. You know? I don't know if Katie has shared something of our badge, or are we where we are? Sorry, I'm just able to see everything now. So I'm going to wait for the next steps of the presentation.
Yeah, all good. I mean, I think we haven't gone into the badge yet, but maybe that's a good segue. I think if you're, and I had to refresh myself, so I think if you introduced yourself already, and happy to jump forward. If not, if you want to say anything else about your journey, if you haven't, I missed it, then we can just go on. I think the next slide is regarding the poll. So if anybody hasn't yet filled out the poll, I encourage you to go ahead and do that. And then Felipe, if you want to take it away into kind of some of the importance of sustainability and badge information, we can go forward.
Absolutely. Do you want to do the poll first? Have you done the poll already?
No, let's do the poll. Let's do the poll.
Yeah.
So if you want to access the poll, you on the bottom of your screen, there's a little circle with like a little quarter circle. And if you click on that, then you should see 3 polls, and they are these 3 questions. So maybe take a minute, everybody who's on, and give your best guess about what you think the answer is.
Yeah, I see updates coming in.
You have to hit submit after you select the radio button too, in case you. Thanks everybody for voting.
Yes, some pretty close answers here too. The audience is split.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think maybe we have enough to start getting into these polls. Okay. Okay, so as far as, yep, the top question, what % of the world's greenhouse gas emissions come from travel? That is 8%, roughly 8%. So that's, kind of factoring in, the planes are obviously a huge one, as well as the different stays, like for air conditioning and things that we've already been talking about today. A lot goes into getting our guests and getting ourselves across the world to travel. So that is a pretty big chunk of the overall greenhouse gas emissions. And then the second one, what % of customers want to book sustainable properties? So that is 73%. And let me see, I think in the poll, that was coming in third. So 53% had the majority there. So 73% are interested in booking sustainable properties. I mean, that's huge. That's the majority, right? Well over half. So it's great to see that
Well,
interest.
Yeah, I was going to say, though, that also interesting that the majority actually got it wrong, and that they guessed less than that. So I think that like the consumer demand for sustainable properties is lower than people realize it is, which is, I've seen very consistently, this is kind of a misunderstood stat across travel. So, and it's just going to get more important as people are younger and care a little bit more usually about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it will change more too as guests start to see that you can use that as an identifier. I know even personally when I travel, it's like you don't always. It's you have to really look for that to be shown. So the more that it becomes a norm and highlighting, it becomes a norm in that searching, the booking experience. I think that'll only increase. And then the last question actually was, it's interesting to see how that converts then to who's actually willing to pay more money for it. So what % of customers will spend more money on sustainable products, including stays and properties, and that is 53%. So less than the 73 that were interested, but still the majority of guests are willing to pay for that, to prioritize how they're using their dollars and kind of spending that money, putting it back into the environment and kind of like voting with your dollar, so to speak, as to like what you want to see out of the world. So still a lot of interest there, not quite as much as being searched for, but still good to see that growing. And that one won. So great. You guys are right on for that one.
Cool.
So I think now with that, thanks for doing the poll, everybody. And then, Felipe, if you want to take it away a bit more about sustainability and kind of go forward with bookings efforts.
Yeah, thank you, Katie. Thank you, everyone. So as I mentioned before, we are definitely in a journey with sustainability. It's something that just not happened from day to night. We have been seeing this happening in the last 5 years. We have been talking about it. And thankfully this year, actually in the Q3, Q4 this year, we were able to come up with this initiative that can help us to support partners and guests on this journey. So before that, we also joined Travel List. If you haven't heard about it, it's a joint venture between different companies in the industry. So we have also TripAdvisor, Visa, even Google being part of that. So that's an initiative that started back in 2018 to join forces to discuss the sustainability across environment, across how we can support local enforcements in local communities to support them with sustainable energy, for example. So this is happening across the globe, and Booking is spearheading this as a company in the travel industry in order to support our efforts with sustainability. So for you as a host or as a partner, what you can do on a daily basis to support sustainability? With that said, we've come up with a badge that's also now available for our guests and partners, that the partners can select 32 practices in the extranet in order to support how which practices they already have in order to put that together and offer sustainable practices to the guests. So it goes from I offer solar energy. I have I use reused water in my property. I support local communities. I source food locally. So all these practices, they have been thought about to support locally how our partners can develop further the sustainability practices that they have into their business. So with that, what we're trying to do is to also highlight those properties. So when you search for them at Booking, there's already a filter that already selects properties that have a badge in the front end. So that increases visibility and also the conversion of those specific properties, going back to the numbers that we saw previously. So we know that there's demand for that type of product, and also that type of conscious, I would say, that people being more conscious about how they're traveling. And knowing about that, there was a lot of research and data behind it to support these efforts moving forward. So again, this is not stopping now. Firsthand, we are also working on Earth Day on April 22nd. There is going to be a release on the option for guests when they are booking through Booking.com to offset their carbon footprints. So when you book a hotel room or accommodation through Booking, you're going to see the opportunity to offset your footprint into carbon, paying you €1, whatever you wish for. So that's another partnership that we're bringing forward to really commit with the sustainability practices that we have. So again, it's a full cycle that we are looking at to support guests and partners and the communities that we serve globally. Katie, I don't know if you want to jump into the next slide, or do we have any questions in the chat that we want to look at?
Yeah, I think before we go to the next slide, I just want to add one more comment that it's, I think from what Bob was raising, some great questions here, some great comments too. And it's super important. Booking, we have a lot of insights being such a large company and from our years, in travel. It's also really important to have that feedback loop with what the properties are doing and experiencing. So with the sustainability practices, if there are any, obviously, that can be highlighted, that's amazing to showcase. And if there are some that you're not participating in, also great to highlight, because that feedback on what's being done will help shape that. And the more input we have, just the more kind of collection of this resources and this data sample set, the more that we can then do or then communicate with to only go further. So it's really, right now, Booking is doing a lot of work to get to a strong baseline of just having an assessment of what's out there. So again, just really encouraging everybody to fill that out. And even if it's not being done yet, we understand, again, it's a process to get to that place that where we all want to be. So great to at least have like a snapshot as to the current situation. And then, yeah, we'll just move forward. I think they already touched on a lot of these great things with like this Travelist and sustainability badge. I think Tourism Declares we haven't yet spoke about, but I know that's a great one that I think Margot and also Bob may have raised.
Yeah, I was going to say that, a lot of times what we hear from different companies in our space, whether it's a software company or it's property management companies, is just feeling really overwhelmed with where to start. And we were also overwhelmed at Hostfully on where to start. And so one of the things we did over a year ago now is we partnered with a company called Ecology to do carbon offsets for our entire employee base. So we are actually a climate neutral or carbon neutral company at this time. It's really quite easy with a small team. And one of the things that we did in conjunction with that was actually look at this organization called Tourism Declares. And Tourism Declares is kind of like, it's like the lightweight version of like a club, right? And you basically go in and you say, I'm going to sign up for my own initiatives and I'm going to commit to my own things. And it's almost like by saying it publicly, you commit to doing it yourself. And I think it's really great. You also, it's a great club to be part of. And you also can connect with other companies in the vacation rental and in the broader travel space. So that is just one very easy way to get started. And they have like lots of suggestions. I actually have spent a lot of time going through and looking at other companies that are involved in Tourism Declares and just getting inspiration from them about what we could be doing differently at Hostfully or how we can be talking about it. And that was a really important start for us. Definitely the sustainability badge on booking.com is awesome. And then Travelist, I didn't realize how broad reaching Travelist is. I don't know, Felipe, if you want to spend some time talking about Travelist, but these are some organizations that can help you kind of give you a roadmap for what you can be doing as an organization. And Travelist is really different from Tourism Declares. So it might be helpful to hear a little bit about that one.
Yes, thank you, Margot. So Travelist, it came up with, I think when you think about travel, when you associate with people that are doing good things, that started actually with the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry in England back in time. And the reason behind it is to really bring big players in the market that have first an impact, and they have also a commitment with what they do. So that's definitely how we see being part of Travelist. It's something that is not just there again, just for the marketing or for the attention of that, but what it's based for. It's based in some pillars that what they are doing is to bring forward, first, protecting the wildlife of globally. So you think about places like in India, where you have Bengal tigers being killed by local communities that are invasive to their regions. Also preserving the environment. So that's goals globally of everything that you talk about, scaling up reduction of gas emissions of CO2. So also tourism growth, how does that grows back to everything that we do? We impact the environment as an industry. So we have to be conscious about that. And also when you think about the communities that we work with. So it goes from being a tourist in New York or being someone that is doing a safari in Africa. So the intention of Travelist is bring all those backgrounds of different companies together and put that forward in order to enable commonalities. And also the background of that is that these companies are working together to support that message. So it's really, really amazing to see how does that come together. And it's not just a point in time. And the companies that are behind that, it's, as I mentioned, Booking.com, we have Google, we have Skyscanner, which is also a meta search, Trip.com, which is the biggest OTA and wholesaler in China, TripAdvisor, and also Visa. So different players that come together to support this message of sustainability in four different pillars globally, which is, I think it's much needed, and we are seeing action on that. As I mentioned earlier, we just launched today our 2030 commitment to net zero emissions as a company, and also the Booking Holdings sustainability report just came out today. It's really there for a reason, no?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Bob, thank you for posting these questions. I don't think, sadly, that other people can see the question. So I'm going to read some of this stuff off, if that's okay, Philippe, because Bob has some additional things to share about Tourism Declares. So first of all, let's talk about Tourism Declares. So Tourism Declares is evolving following the partnership with the Glasgow Declaration. In the future, businesses will join the Glasgow Declaration and Tourism Declares, and Tourism Declares will focus on new outreach. If anybody has any questions on this, he can help them offline later. You can find Bob Gardner on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest way to find him, and he is really a connector in our space in property management around all the sustainability efforts. Another thing that Bob and I are working on, but I haven't done that much, admittedly, I want to do more, is actually encourage some of the events that we have that are in the vacation rental industry, where we're traveling and we're using single-use plastics and we're using a lot of energy, and to be more sustainable. And so I know there's a question in here about how, Booking is also a sponsor, just like Hostfully is, of several of these kind of industry events. And there is a new organization called greenvrevents.com that Bob is championing. And again, if you go in LinkedIn, you can find this information there. And we are working on trying to make those events more sustainable too, because it's not just at the day-to-day, soap and cleaning products and guests. It's also just all the things we do with our businesses, how we spend our money on marketing, how we spend our money on creating swag for events, or flying people unnecessarily around the planet when we don't need to. So there's just so many ways you can actually make an impact in your community, and encouraging. Honestly, it's really helpful for us to keep talking about these things very openly, because the more encouragement Hostfully gets from property managers, the more we're going to be excited about changing together with you. And I'm sure it's the same on Booking.com too, where it's like, if you guys are hearing from property managers that they care about this stuff, like it's going to be higher on your list, right? To prioritize.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I had the same thought about swag, and I mean, just how we're traveling to events, and even down to like having, like a travel, like silverware, or like the carrying your own napkins, like things like that. But for sure, the more input we get, the more Booking will continue to grow in this area. I mean, we already are as a company. We already have that initiative, but for sure, the more input from partners, absolutely. I have to admit, Bob, I'm not personally familiar with green events, but I mean, it's super, very important, and I'll definitely take that back, and Felipe and I can take that back to the sustainability team and see if this is something that we're already doing, and if not, then encourage that we start, because again, so much of this waste, or just like sustainability is related to traveling, these kinds of conferences. They're huge energy generators, so it's very important to keep that at the forefront.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about booking and Hostfully, but Nick, do you have any reactions to kind of these suggestions about ways people can get started? Like, what do you think about? Well, first of all, I wanted to just celebrate Booking's commitment to being climate neutral. That's amazing, and congratulations to you guys for making that big step. But also, Nick, I just wanted to hear your take on this. Do you have any thoughts or comments on what we've been sharing?
Yeah, no, I hadn't seen any of this till this morning when the slides were were shared, and it was really exciting to see that what Booking's working on. And I'm interested on these ways for us to improve on that. And I think it's also interesting that as I kind of think about it, how Booking, they're kind of sharing their hands in terms of their algorithm, right? How can we get to the top? Obviously it's important to Booking to the point that it's going to be a good way to be pushing some of these initiatives down. And I look at that as a positive. So, that as a property manager, we're always trying to figure out how can we get our properties to the top of any sort of search within the platforms. So if Booking's saying this is important, I think it's a great way to get a lot of properties all committed towards the same thing. So this is wonderful. Yeah, it's really exciting.
All right. So Felipe, I think that I'm just looking at the next couple slides. We are we covered some of these stats, right, in the polls, Kathryn?
Yes, we did. So I think by now we've gone through the importance. I mean, we know the importance of sustainability. We know that travelers want to see it. So that's, I think, what that one's covering. And then this is just a bit more on the badge itself and the areas that it covers. So again, just highlighting everything we've been talking about, how to make that visible on the Booking.com front end.
Yeah, can you walk? Maybe can Felipe? Oh, here is this the
Yes, this is more about what actually goes into it. So it's, and Felipe, maybe you're the expert on this, so I'll let you talk to it. But there are 5 key areas that we're highlighting here.
Yeah, so basically we do have 5 areas where we see fit to bring this forward. So it's related to using less water, reducing energy and greenhouse gases, protecting nature, how you can support your reduction of waste in your property, and also how you can support your local community. So all these 5 areas, they have practices that when you go into the extranet, you select these practices with a yes or no, if you already have that in place or not. And then we're gonna have our algorithm that we have based on everything that we have done already into sustainability is going to evaluate, for example, and it's important to just mention that all those practices, they have different weights on different regions. So for example, if you're a property in Africa where we know that solar energy is more expensive and you already do have solar energy, that practice only, we're going to have a lot of weight into your selection. So it's important to think that it's not that if you select everything yes, you're going to have the badge. No, there is a difference between regions and different properties. So if you are a 5-star hotel, or if you are an independent property, or if you're a small boutique hotel in South America, it's really based to give commonality on the 5 areas that we work with. And how that support is that, okay, the algorithm is going to read and say, okay, this property deserves the badge. So it's very democratic on the way we look at, and we want to support all our partners globally with that. So the reason behind is not just because you are a Marriott, you're a chain, or because you're a hotel in a very common destination like New York, by default you're going to have the badge. No, it's really think about every partner globally and how we can have that specific property really being sustainable in that location. No.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Felipe, I'm sorry. I'm going to put my property manager hat on because that's what I wear. When we have a lot of listings with Booking, is it by property within that, or is it kind of by company?
Great question. Right now, we don't have the possibility to request that by, for example, via API. We are working on that, and I think Katie can also have more details on that, because through our connectivity, providers, we don't have still the option to just buy, hey, these are all my properties, and they do that, they don't do that. So right now, I would recommend you to go each one of your properties and see how they're working and select each one of the practices for those specific properties.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. I think it's still individual at the time, Nick, and I know it'd be great to have this as across the board, but right now it is, like Felipe said, it's so tailored towards the location that I believe it wasn't set up at least to scale, but for sure that's something that's in the plan. So for now, one by one, and then again, yeah, more by APIs and more that we will hopefully be integrating closely down the line. I think right now there's a few basics within just like the facilities and property details that come through the content. So if your content's updated, and hopefully that will come through to booking for some of these core information. But as far as some of the additional add-ons that have not yet been parsed out, there might be a bit of a difference there for what's in the extranet and what's in Hostfully at this time. But definitely, again, like we're hoping to build this out more in the future.
Sure. Thanks.
There's a comment from Bob in the chat that it would be great if the badge had a bigger profile, just to be more obvious. I kind of it's interesting. I actually haven't looked at Booking.com and seen where this is displayed. Is it pretty obvious, or is there any thought about the placement or size?
Margot, can you just can you refresh? I got some background here in the question.
Oh, sure. No, he said it would be great if the badge had a bigger profile, like at the top of the page in a bigger font. So what the question is like, how do travelers see this badge when they're shopping? Like, is part of like, what's the strategy around making that more visible? And also, honestly, like I'm curious about how you think about this badge in comparison with some of the other badges that we've been talking about on this webinar, where,
yeah,
right? Like what's the strategy around that?
Yes, we do have right now, we have Travel Proud, which is also our part of inclusion in terms of diversity and LGBT community. Comes along, Booking being very transparent in how we work with inclusion, diversity, and belonging.
Mm-hmm.
For the specific badge for sustainability and also Travel Proud, it's definitely a way for, if I am a guest and or if I'm worried that I'm traveling to a different destination that I've never been, and I'm part of a community that I just want to feel safe. For example, for Travel Proud or even sustainability, and you want to find out properties that already work with that type of practices, you can select those as with both on a filter on the search in the front end, and you can be more specific. So it's really helping the demand match with the perfect product for that specific selection of guests that we have daily globally. So if you think about the front end, basically it's where you have all the products, and every product now they can showcase the specifics that they probably had before, but we weren't able to showcase that. So it's an ongoing evolution that we are aiming to even become better with that, and offer more of specifics for each product that we have in the front end.
Mm-hmm. Cool, thank you. I think Booking is really one of the most innovative companies in the world when it comes to trying different projects like this, and it's really exciting to see Booking move so quickly. I think that compared to some of the other companies in our industry, Booking makes really fast moves when it comes to making changes like this, and I've seen it across the board, not just with this one initiative. So I'm really excited to see where the data takes us, and I think it's kind of like almost like late, but still better than nothing. So we're getting there together, right? I'm sure you feel that way too as an advocate in Thor.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's definitely still a long ways to go, but I mean, I totally appreciate the feedback on behalf of Booking, and we're trying, even just for ourselves as a workforce, like you're talking about Hostfully, which is amazing. You're already able to be like net zero. That's something that Booking's striving towards by 2030, I believe, or near zero, and then getting towards net zero. So for sure, a long ways to go, but yeah, we'll get there together.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's much easier when you're a very small company, as Nick said. And some things are easier when you're smaller, and sometimes things are bigger. But when you're a smaller organization, it's much easier to do that kind of stuff. So I wanted to kind of move forward here. We talked about the 3 things you can do. And I just, if anybody has any other questions for Booking.com or Hostfully on sustainability, this is basically the takeaway is that it's a no-brainer. You should definitely be pursuing your sustainability badge on Booking.com. It's a way to differentiate yourself. You're going to get more bookings. You're going to get more eyeballs on your listings. Probably the people that will book with you will be more responsible and respectful towards your properties, and they're probably willing to even pay more for it. So it's kind of like a no-brainer to invest in the work that it takes to showcase that more specifically. And then Nick, I'm curious, like, if you feel that is there anything else that Hostfully or Booking can be doing to like help make this easier for property managers to know about? One of the biggest challenges that we have is that property managers are so busy. They have so much going on. So like, how do we break through and make this like the urgent call that it really is? Because it has upside for everybody. How do we do this better?
On the sustainability side, I guess my biggest cry for help would be for any platform is to make it easy for us to communicate with the human beings and to be able to have phone numbers for people and be able to reach out to, during the business hours. So, and, as these new programs come across, any sort of, the APIs, everything else, I'm thinking through my head, we have to go through 40 properties and go through all, that's going to be a lot of work. And it's something we really want to make a push on, but we're still in our high season right now. So I'm just trying to think the realistic goals that I need to think about for our employees. So anything to make it easier in terms of software integrations and anything that you could make it easier for us to contact within a company, either really, really quickly on emails or a phone call. And I can tell you from a property management standpoint, we have our favorites, our platforms that are easy to get a hold of human beings on. So as we get bigger, that's important to us. And as these sustainability things provide us the education, whether that's even a flyer or PDF that we can send to our homeowners to explain to them why we're doing this, the importance of this, because right now we have to do all of that work.
Yeah, that's a great point, Nick. I mean, even possibly like messaging templates or things that we can use through existing setup to just be more informative and more like help with some templates there. Or there's definitely things we can be doing. So that's great feedback.
Yeah, like templates too. So any sort of templates you could have as an example. Hey, this is an email you could send to your homeowners as to why we're going with the Booking.com. We want to get these badges, and let us change it as needed. But at least it kind of takes that the first draft.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
Also along those lines, it might be interesting to almost have like a menu of like a roadmap. So it's not just like we're doing this now. It's like, hey, owners, like over the next year, we're going to be doing these programs that, and here are some examples of things we might do, so that as the property manager, you have some flexibility around the timing and stuff, but then you just get the permission up front. So then it's kind of like opening. That's what I can see this email. I want to write it right now, but like, it's basically like, like giving you the carte blanche permission to make the improvements, but then it just sells them on the benefit up front. So then you don't have to go back every time. You could say, oh, remember we talked about that. Oh, like, yeah, I do remember we talked about that before. That might make things easier too.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. It's hard to break through these days with anything, right? Emails or chat or even video calls. And on that point, I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining, and especially to Bob, actually, for chiming in on all the questions and additional information, because it's been really helpful, and it's great to have the engagement from the audience on today's webinar. So thank you.
Yes, definitely. I was just going to say thanks, everybody. Thanks, Bob, too, for your note. And speaking of getting to a real person, we can connect offline and make sure you can find somebody within the booking sustainability team to connect with. Because I know, we're a huge company, but we want to hear from you, and we want to be a good partner on this. So it's super important to cut through all of that.
Yeah. And also, Nick, thank you so much for coming on and being the property manager in the room. Hopefully we didn't put you in the hot seat too much, but it's so great to have the stories, that you're here to come and tell, and just to make sure that we're on the right track. So thank you for helping us with that, and also helping to share all the great things we can do for sustainability for the industry. So thank you.
Sure, you're welcome, and thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thanks, Margot.
All right.
Thanks everybody
Thank you
for
very
joining.
much, everybody. Take care.